I don't
Gosh.
know.
Or are under the preconceived notion that investing is only for the wealthy. Magnus and his expert guests are here to help you. Now, here is your host, Magnus Carter.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the show. You are on the Making More Money for You show. I'm your host, Magnus Carter, as the lovely intro suggested. Last week, we had a phenomenal talk with Randy Kajawa from Toilet Paper Hands on what they're actually doing over there and how to get kids and actually young adults excited about investing and by doing animated series and also talking about some other future things coming down the road. But this week is actually going to be a very interesting week because I got a special guest that I've reached out to and reached out to me as well. As we're going to talk about everybody's favorite topics of starting a business, what needs to be done, how to go about doing it. And it's that time of the year where it's the end of the year for businesses for taxes. And for this, I would like to introduce my guest is Charles Read. Charles, welcome to the show.
Magnus, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Uh, so Charles, I know everybody is loving, the end of the year as business owners and also as workers because next year, in the next couple months, we'll actually get money back from the government and see how much we actually owe them. But can you tell us before we get into all that fun stuff? Can you give us a little bit of your background and how you became an expert in what you do?
Sure. I'm a Midwestern boy. I grew up in Iowa. After high school, I joined the United States Marine Corps, spent 4 years, including a combat tour in Vietnam. Came back, was stationed in Kansas City, met and married my wife. She had 5 children when I married her. She was 10 years older than I was. I claim insanity, but we were married for 45 years before she
Wow.
passed, so it worked. Um, Found that business did not value my military experience then, like now. They don't understand what military experience brings to the table. So I went and got my credentials. I went and got my BBA and my MBA, sat for and passed my CPA exam while I was still in graduate school. Went into the corporate world, went to work for TI. Spent 15 years in the corporate world, big corporations, small corporations, startups, turnarounds, lots of wonderful experience. Realized I was never going to run a major corporation. I didn't have the political skills. I was unwilling to stab people in the back and toss them off the ladder. So if I was going to run a business, and I grew up in a family business, I'm going to have to start my own. So just over 30 years ago, Ruth, my wife, and I started our own business. Uh, we started as a mobile accounting service with a payroll sideline, dealt with a lot of clients, a lot of business, a lot of consulting, a lot of small businesses. About 10 years ago, I sold off the accounting side to my partner and kept on with the payroll business. Went and got myself a U.S. Tax Court practitioner's certification so I can practice in U.S. Tax Court, even though I'm not an attorney. Because when I got that, the IRS was getting very obstreperous, and it was necessary for me to have more credentials to help my clients. So here we are today, keep on growing and having fun and being an entrepreneur and living the good life.
Wow, that's amazing. Thank you for your service first and foremost. I did have a couple shows when I had ex-military folks on the show, and it's always great talking to you because you have a different and a unique different way of seeing the world because you see it way differently than everybody that actually just goes right into their business, and I appreciate that, and I know my listeners appreciate that as well because a lot of the people that actually listen to the show have been either ex-military or thinking about going to military and whatnot. So it's always great having a veteran on, especially with Veterans Day coming on as well. But one thing I want to talk about is you said the IRS is actually becoming more and more involved in taxing and businesses. What do you mean by that?
Well, they're very much involved in that, but they are the term I use is more obstreperous. They're uh, okay. IRS is 100,000 people, 40% of which are eligible to retire in the next 2 years. They're civil servants.
Okay.
They are in the middle of a huge change in laws. Congress has passed repeated laws in the last few years, in the last 12, 16 years. Huge changes back and forth from Obama to Trump to Biden. It's been a roller coaster. They are expecting the IRS to do a great deal more than they used to in terms of the PPP and stimulus checks and other programs that Congress keeps writing. And until very recently, they haven't given them the resources to handle it. So people are undertrained, overworked, civil servants. They don't have the profit motive that we in business do. Right. So they don't really want to put in those 80-hour weeks. And many of them only get paid for 40 no matter how they work. They were all off for COVID. They all worked from home. They shut everything down, and everything is not back up to speed yet. My personal refund is still out in the air. And we have a number of clients who we filed tax returns and amended tax returns and other things, and they're just not being answered. It's the IRS is in a mess, and the commissioner changes next week. Chuck Reddick, who'd come in 5 years ago, was an outsider, and Trump was trying to drain the swamp with limited success because it's 100,000 people who are a bureaucracy, and you can't fire them because they're civil servants. And so he did what he could, but he's being replaced on the 12th by a IRS career employee.
Okay, I understand. Before we go any further, if anybody out there that is in business or has tax questions, please call in. The phone number to call in is 1-866-472-5789. It's 1-866-472-5789. Well, speaking about that, Charles, how important is it to get your corporation or your business off on the right foot by following tax laws that are actually stated now and the business you're getting into?
Critical. My newest book, the Payroll Book, A Guide for Small Businesses and Startups, the first chapter is entity selection, because entity selection is critical for tax purposes. Whether you're a sole proprietor or a corporation, LLC, a partnership, they all impact how taxes are calculated and what taxes you pay. So it's critical that you get off on the right foot. One of the biggest problems new entrepreneurs make is they don't classify people properly. They pay them under the table, they pay them cash, they pay them as independent contractors, even though they're technically employees. The penalties and interest that can accrue are huge. They can put you out of business. So you've got to be right from the beginning, because the IRS and the states are not forgiving.
Oh, I'll attest to that.
They are not charitable enterprises, and they have no charity in their hearts. Their hearts are stone cold. And there's the law. Now, understand, the IRS doesn't make the law. The law is written by Congress.
Okay.
And today is the day. Today is, I don't know when this will air, but today is the 8th of November, and it's voting day.
Well, speaking of that, real quick, we are live, so don't forget to vote. So
don't forget to vote. All my employees are voted, and in 23 states, for you business owners, in 23 of the 50 states, you have to give them paid time off to vote.
Really? Yep. When did that start?
It's been taking place over years and years and years. I sent out an email to all my to my mailing list late last week or yesterday, listing all the states and the requirements. So if you're not sure, go whatever state you're in. Does business have to pay time off for voting? Google it, and you may find you're violating the law again.
Oh, geez. tons of great little nuggets here. Love it. So you did say when we classify as a business, that is definitely in the planning phase of your business, especially what you're looking to do and what you're looking to grow, not only for right now, but what you're looking to do 5-10 years in the future. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Now, there are some things you can change. If you're just starting out and you have literally no liability and you're grossing 10 grand a year, you might as well be a sole proprietor.
Okay.
Okay. But the moment you have any liability, including slip and fall, if you open an establishment where people can walk in, you've got to have liability protection, and a corporate or an LLC status is the cheapest way to get. That's the cheapest insurance policy you'll ever buy. I like S corps personally because
Yep.
the law is very settled on it. Uh, Lawyers will charge less to set up a corporation than an LLC in many cases. The advantages of an LLC are very obtuse and limited. So I recommend S corp, or if you're an LLC, an S corp status for tax
Yes.
purposes. It is the most tax advantageous way to do business. You'll pay less taxes that way.
Ah,
And any good CPA that handles small business can walk you through all the details of what and why and how.
okay. Well, since you brought that up, I did the same thing. I talked to my CPA. I talked to actually a couple of people that are in the publishing world to figure out what they did, how they're growing, and talk to my CPA as well. And that's exactly how I set mine up. I have LLC with the S corp, so I got everything set up. Everything's I did it last year, and it's the first year is always the hardest year to do this, especially for taxes, and especially this last year they changed how they did the taxes because my accountant had to do my business taxes first and then my personal taxes.
Yeah, because as an S corp status, you are a flow through entity, which means your profit or loss and your tax credits flow to your personal tax
Right.
return. So they have to do that. And then the K1 that's created, that's the form,
Mhm.
flows to your personal tax return. And that's your business income. And you get taxed only on your personal return, not on your 1120S, which is your 1120, your corporate return. The S stands for your S corp.
Wow, that's great knowledge, especially for everybody out there that's looking to do this or starting to do this right now, and you're ready to not you're making some money but not making enough money yet. You gotta think about where you're gonna take your business, and that's one of the things that you have to do. To get started in a business, what do you actually need to get really started in a business? I know a CPA is one of them. What else?
There's four people you need in a new business.
Okay.
You need a CPA accountant.
Mhm.
You need, and I hate to say it, you need a lawyer
Oh, we
to
love them.
advise you on the law. Okay. You need a banker because you got to move that money through a bank somehow. And you need an insurance agent because you're in business, you have business insurance that you need to cover. So those four advisors you need to have to start with. But I'm going to give you a caveat. They are advisors. Many of them will want to tell you how to run your business. Don't listen to them about that. It's your business. You're in charge of it. You run it your way. Take their advice in their field and put it into your calculations, but don't let them tell you how to run your business.
Okay.
You're the one that has to choose the risk and the reward and the circumstances, not them. And not all of them will. But if you get a lawyer that says, no, you've got to do this, you may want to find a new lawyer. If you have an accountant that says, oh no, you've got to rearrange these things and do things differently, you can't be in business like this, find another CPA.
Okay. Uh, I'm very fortunate with the people that I surrounded myself with my business, and some people are not because I have actually heard horror stories about this, and I'm sure in your time that people have come from bad, bad, bad advice, if you want, got them in a lot of trouble. How hard?
Yes.
What is out of all the things that could possibly happen? What are a couple of the things that people constantly come to you about?
Well, if they've been doing it themselves, They haven't been making deposits on time. They haven't been filing the right forms. They're not set up with the states correctly. Right now, we're having a lot of this year is as people work from home in different states, and businesses have not registered in those states that they now have employees in. Okay,
Oh.
Sally worked for you, and you said, okay, Sally, you can go work from home. Well, Sally decided to move from Texas to Oklahoma, from Missouri to Kansas, from New York, upstate New York to Florida, and she still does great work for you. But she's now in another state, and you have to register in that state and pay state unemployment tax. You depending if you set up an office there, you may find yourself subject to state corporate taxes.
Oh my.
If you have an employee that has an office, a sales office in California, even though you're in Texas, all of a sudden, California wants state corporate income tax from you. And the minimum, even if you have zero income, is $800.
What? $800 just for
$800 just to be there.
Just to be there and say hi.
Yeah. So you have to be very careful about how you handle the term nexus. That is where you're doing business and how you're doing business in those states. Now, if Sally is your customer service person and she moves across state lines, you probably don't have nexus in that next state.
Okay.
But if you have a sales office in that state, Joe moves there and you say, yeah, Joe, go ahead and sell people in that state. And he opens up an office, you now have nexus. So these are things that you need to talk to your CPA and your attorney about. But if you've got people that have moved into other states and they were still working remote, you better be registered in those states.
Okay. Yeah, you don't want to dodge that especially at the final hour of the year and have to come up with all that.
No, it's better to do it in December than it is to do it in January.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. Well, yeah, now that you're talking about it, because January starts the next fiscal year.
It's a new year, and now everything's closed for the year, and it's too late to make that last report or that last deposit, or say, well, they really moved it there in oh no, it wasn't April, it was December they moved there, so I only have the fourth quarter to report.
That's not so bad. Oh wow, that's amazing. One thing, I'm still new to the journey. I'm still doing business startups and whatnot. How important is it to actually? Well, I know it's quite important, but what needs to be considered when you're actually filing for your corporation, if you will.
Well, your corporation is a state entity.
Okay.
So in the state you're in, you need to file. Now, Delaware and Nevada are nice places to incorporate, and they have some advantages. But if you incorporate in Nevada and you're in Michigan, you still have to file in Michigan as a corporation, and now you're a out-of-state corporation, so you're going to be paying certain amounts of taxes in Nevada and full Michigan taxes for your corporation. So unless you've grown large and you're operating in a lot of states, it's probably better to incorporate in the state you're in. It's just simpler. You also file less corporate returns, because if you're incorporated in Nevada and you operate in Michigan, you're going to file a Nevada return and you're going to file a Michigan return. And I promise you, your CPA is going to charge you for both of them.
They love that extra form to fill out.
Oh, hey, believe me, the more states you're in, the more I love you, because, the more revenue you produce for me. I'm sorry, but that's just life. And as a new business, when you incorporate, you are going to encounter additional costs. Okay. You may have corporate taxes. You may not, depends on the state. You will have a corporate return you have to file, both federal and probably state. So If you're really small and just started out and don't have any liability exposure, then stay as a sole proprietor. But once you
Okay.
get above $10,000 gross or you develop liability, then you definitely need to incorporate. The 10,000, talk to your CPA. He'll advise you when it's time. He wants that
Okay.
corporate return, believe me.
Now, well, as business owners, how is filing different when you're doing a brick and mortar business instead of an online business?
Technically not.
It's not?
No, you still file with that the state you're in
Okay.
and the federal government. You file an 1120S is the same whether you're an online business or a brick and mortar business. Okay, as
It's
long as you're in the U.S.
okay.
Now, as long as you're not, as long as you haven't formed a nexus in multiple states. For instance, we're in Texas. We provide payroll services across the country, but we only have a nexus in Texas. Okay, that's like all my exes live in Oklahoma, you know. But it's actually Texas. But uh, so as long as you don't have nexus, you have just one state to deal with. Now, we have sales tax issues in multiple states because we sell product, but that's all been changing in the last few years as the Supreme Court has changed the law, and now you have to pay sales tax wherever you're selling product or
Okay.
delivering product to. Now, a lot of the states have not gotten heavily into it, and if you're selling half a dozen pieces of whatever, a dozen widgets in California, nobody's going to say anything. You're below the threshold. As you get bigger, you're going to start getting hit with that. That was
Okay.
all a big case here a few years ago, and the Supreme Court changed what is a nexus for sales tax purposes, and it can be wherever you're shipping stuff to.
Okay. Because I
So,
know when I was working with Amazon or for Amazon or partnership, it's a weird thing being an Amazon reseller because Amazon would
mhm,
take care of all that stuff for you. And then they would
right.
break it down. It's like, okay, this is what we sold to these things here. This is all the taxes we take it out, take it to your CPA, and here, be done with you. Because that's
Right.
actually one of the nice things about working with Amazon. One of the few.
And there are services that you can work with that'll help you with all that. Your CPA can advise you when, hey, this is getting Magnus, this is getting too much for my firm. I'm going to suggest you get one of these sales tax operations to handle all the calculations for you.
Perfect. Now, you brought up a good point. How often about moving from one specialty person to another specialty person, but how those four people that we talked about, your lawyer, your CPA, your insurance broker, and what was the fourth guy again?
Your banker.
Your banker. How often should you meet with them?
Frankly, once you get to any size at all, your accountant should be doing monthly financials for you.
Okay.
You can start out with annual and then quarterly, but once you get above a certain size, you need to move to monthly. So you should be seeing your accountant every month. It may not be much time, but he's going to do your financials.
Mhm.
He's also going to be, if you don't use a payroll service like us, then he's going to be doing after the fact payroll and making all your payroll tax deposits and forms for you. Many of those are monthly, and if you get bigger, they become semi-weekly, where you have to pay you have to make your deposits within 3 or 4 days.
Oh wow.
So uh, your accountant's going to be your biggest contact. Your banker, you probably, if you're not borrowing money, if you're just moving money through a checking account, once every year or two, just
Okay.
stop in and say hi. Let them know. Make sure you know who your officer is. So if there's a problem, you can call Joe, not customer service. And the banks are
Mhm.
getting terrible about having officers at branches. So you may have to
Mhm.
be pushy, but you want to have a contact when there's a problem in that account that you have a person to talk to that knows who you are. Your insurance agent, at least once a year, you need to review your policies. the price is probably going to go up, and you may want to put them out for bid,
Okay.
periodically. Maybe not every year, but every 3 to 5 years, you'll want to rebid all your insurance. Okay, so
Okay.
And your lawyer, again, unless something comes up once a year, take him to lunch. That's cheaper than being in his office because he'll charge you in the office.
But he'll probably still charge you for while you're at lunch and the lunch itself.
I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, the lunch is coming out of your pocket. Don't worry about it.
Absolutely.
But funny things happen. I mean, I remember one time my banker took me to lunch, and her credit card that was issued on her bank
Yeah.
wouldn't accept it.
Oh, excuse me.
Needless to say, when I had to pay for lunch, she was embarrassed.
It's only the bank that you store your money in that you can't access.
Exactly, and it was
Minor
a
things.
credit card on her bank, her company credit card. Things happen.
Oh, it does happen. Well, we went through a lot of stuff in the first half of the show already, Charles. We're already halfway through. We covered when to actually become a companies, different types of companies, the people you need in your company. But we're gonna take a break right now, and we're gonna come back and get more into depth with this. So everybody that is tuned in, thank you for tuning in. We're gonna be right back after these few short messages.
All clear.
That's awesome.
Yep.
That's a great story. Man. Anything you want to cover in the second half, particularly? Because I think this is going great the way it is.
The one thing I would like to do at the appropriate point is I'd like to offer all your listeners a free copy of my book.
Absolutely. We can definitely plug that at the end. If you want, send me the links over to email. I'll put them in the descriptions. We'll put them everywhere.
I'll have Michael send you all the links, this is free. We'll pay for shipping and handling and everything else.
Oh, absolutely. Okay.
So
I
it's not,
that.
Pay $9.95 for shipping and handling. No, it's free, because when they get the book and realize how much is involved in payroll, my phone number's in the book.
Fantastic. And also a tax write-off for you, which we'll cover in the next section for advertising and marketing. Yep. Wonderful. I appreciate that very much.
Not a problem.
And we should be coming back shortly. I was hoping to get at least one phone call for questions. Interesting.
It's election day.
This is true. Anything could happen today. We got the lunar eclipse coming up tonight.
20 seconds.
We have
back.
Rachel. Yeah. I have a different engineer today. Anything's possible.
On iHeartRadio or on Apple Podcasts.
When it comes to business, you'll find the experts here. Voice America Business Network.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the show. I'm your host, Magnus Carter. I have Charles Read.
You're listening to Making More Money for You with Magnus Carter. If you have any questions for Magnus or his guests, join us on the show at 866-472-5789. That's 866-472-5789. Now back to the show. Here is Magnus Carter.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back. We're talking about businesses, taxes, and how to stay clear of the IRS and operate proficiently and without issues. To help me guide you on this journey, I have Charles Read with me. Welcome back, Charles.
Thank you, Magnus. Pleasure to be here as always.
Absolutely. And as the lady on the broadcast suggested, we are taking questions if you have any. And the phone number is 1-866-472-5789. First half of the show, we went to why to incorporate, how to incorporate, and who are the best people to have in your inner circle when you're actually starting a business. And this part of the show, we're going to get into some of the benefits of actually working from home, actually transforming your house into an office, if you will, because a lot of small new businesses are doing this. So Charles, let's start there. It's like, what's one of the main reasons why to start working out of your house as a business?
Well, so you're not paying a landlord, first of all. That's a huge thing because you're not paying rent for nothing, for space that you don't own. I worked out of the house for a number of years, out of the game room. And then after I went to an office, I realized my money was just being thrown at the landlord who was making a fortune. So I built my own building because we'd gotten too big to work out of the house. So you want to consider your own real estate because 15 years later, it's paid for.
Oh, wow.
So, I own my own building now, and that's a wonderful thing. But working out of the house, you also get a lot of deductions.
Oh, everybody likes deductions.
Okay. You may have somebody else working there with you, but, a certain amount of the coffee's deductible, the water is deductible, the lawn care is deductible, depreciation on the house. There's a whole bunch of deductions that you can take for having a home office. Now, you have to have a space that's exclusive for the office. There are some rules, but your CPA can advise you on those and can help you structure what you're doing to match the IRS regulations rather than you do something and try to make them fit the regulations, know the regulations, and do then what you do matches those so it's fully deductible.
Okay.
So
that's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, deductions mean less paying out and more money coming back into the pockets.
What you want to do as a business person is to live in a deductible world.
Ooh.
You want to make everything you do deductible. And there's ways to do this. A couple of short stories.
Mm-hmm.
There was an accountant in California who loved Hawaii. So he put an ad in the Hawaiian paper for tax services, and he got a client. And over the course of the next 20 years, he built up quite a practice in Hawaii. So every spring, he'd go spend 2 weeks in Hawaii. It was all tax deductible. It was all a business expense. There was a doctor in Florida who liked to fish, and he had a nice big fishing boat.
Okay.
Well, he deducted the whole thing, and the IRS said, no, you can't do that. And the doctor said, yes, I can, because I use it for business. And the IRS said, how? He says, I invite people to go fishing with me to develop rapport. And the IRS said, well, that doesn't count. And he says, oh, but wait, I invite other doctors, and I invite them. And after the second time, if they haven't referred a patient to me, I don't invite them a third time. And I have a log showing all of this. And the court said, this is a way to increase his revenue, which is taxable, and therefore is a ordinary and necessary business expense for marketing.
Lots of crickets. So wow. So the doctor has a yacht now that's paid for and tax deductible, and is actually a business asset now because he's using it to recruit more income,
patients.
More patients.
Exactly.
And
it's
also
an ordinary and business expense.
And on top of that, he's using it for marketing with other doctors. That's amazing.
Yeah. Wow. You need a good CPA that's creative. You don't want that, as I put it, you don't want one that crosses the line, but you want one that dances down the line on one leg. Okay. So sure, you take legitimate positions that can be supported. Yeah, you may lose it in court. It could happen. I understand that. But as long as it's documented properly and meets the law, in all probability, you're going to win against the IRS because you've pre-planned this. You've thought about it. You've consulted with professionals, and you've designed these things to be deductible. But it takes pre-planning. You can't just do it off the cuff. But living in a deductible world is more than being that creative. It's things like if you're leaving a client's office, you've gone to a client and you're coming back to your office at the house. Mm-hmm. Well, when you stop off at the grocery store, if it's just a mile out of the way, That's de minimis. And you don't change that. You just include the whole trip as business mileage. Okay.
Okay. I follow
When
you.
you go to the post office, you're mailing business mail. The fact that you're mailing packages to the kids at the same time, it's still a business trip. Okay.
Okay. That makes sense.
The computer that you buy for your business, that you run your business on. Okay.
Mhm.
The fact that you check your dating site on it, you just don't talk about.
All right, that makes it. Yeah, you're using it for business, as you're saying. Your internet, the things you need day to day to do business, your
Right.
electricity, you need water, you got to have a bathroom in your.
You have to have a business bathroom. So a portion of the water bill is deductible. A portion of the electric bill is deductible. A portion of the gas bill, a portion of the real estate taxes, they're all deductible. Your CPA can help you with that. You want to live in a world where you make as much as what you do deductible.
Now, you did talk about computers and hardware and whatnot. Now, how do you factor in the diminishing part of it? Because anything you buy, such as those, their value goes down. So
Right.
how can you
Okay.
elaborate on that?
There's a difference between a depreciable asset
Okay.
and an expensable asset. A depreciable asset, you have to depreciate, which means you take the cost of it over a period of time.
Okay. Gotcha.
Say the computer has a 3-year life, you would expense a third of it each year. But if it's under $1,000, then the IRS will let you just write it off that year. Then also on your 1120S, you can take a 179 depreciation, which allows you to depreciate things immediately up to, I think it's $100,000 or $200,000. It changes periodically, but there is bonus depreciation you can take. So normally you can expense most everything that year. Now,
Okay.
if you buy a building or a big piece of equipment, probably not. You'll have to depreciate it or expense it over the life. And that can cause some variances in you owe taxes, but you have no cash. It happens. That's one of the problems with depreciation. That's why the bonus depreciation is there. But again, your CPA can walk you through that and help you. You know, some of the things, if you buy a truck, if it's over a certain weight, well, then it's a different class. So there's trucks that approach that weight and there's trucks that are over that. So
right.
there's things you can do. You just have to pre-plan and know the tax code. And that's where your CPA comes in handy. You want a CPA that understands your business and small business, and he'll be worth he'll be free.
Right. Yeah. He'll actually work
Save
as
you
well.
money.
He'll save you money. So he's actually working for free, which
Yep.
I've been told multiple times that if you find a good lawyer, and a good CPA, you know, they're going to make you money in the end. The
Yes,
bottom
absolutely.
line. And it's just going to be phenomenal because, what you were saying as well is, you need to have someone that's actually very good with the tax law in your state that you're operating out of, correct? Not
Yes.
just somebody, not just some cheap guy from, say, Albuquerque, New
India.
Mexico.
Yeah, no, you need real professionals. You don't need internet hucksters that are cheap. Whether it be your lawyer, your accountant, your insurance company, it's critical that you know your insurance agent and they can work with you. Your banker, your payroll company. These are people you need to know and trust because they will save you money if they know who you are. If they're just applying a cookie cutter formula, you're going to miss a lot of things because you're not a cookie cutter.
No,
You're unique.
Okay.
Every business is unique and has unique opportunities that a professional can help you take advantage of, like the doctor in Florida.
So to find the right person for your business, what are a couple questions that you would ask when you interviewed these people? What are a couple of questions to ask them? And what kind of responses would you expect?
How many businesses like mine in this particular industry do you do business with? Oh, I've never heard of your business. Okay, thank you very much. Next. Okay.
Okay.
How much experience do you have? And that's,
That's
they don't have to have 40 years experience, but oh, you're my first client. No, next. Uh, I'm sorry. Unless he's going to
no.
do it for free and his father's in the business, it's probably a mistake. I'm sorry for new guys. It's you got to earn your dues someplace.
Mhm.
I earned them in the corporate world. So those are a couple of things. Ask your friends, ask people in the same line of business who they use,
Okay.
because if they're happy with them, then you may be. If you're opening a restaurant, your local restaurant association, there's hundreds of restaurants, and most of them have an accountant, most of them have a payroll company, most of them have an attorney. Ask them who they use. Interview those guys first because they know the business.
Oh, true. And also, usually when referring people, they get bonuses. So if I take this, what do you get out of in return for this? Because not to be picky or anything, but a lot of companies that want to expand that would actually get better. What's the word I'm actually looking for here? More rapport with the customers that they have. They actually want them to expand. Am I right?
Yeah, not only that, but we as a payroll company, we offer referral fees to our clients. If they refer a new client, we give them 10% of the new client's revenue forever. It's cheap marketing for us because
Right.
it's word of mouth and it's very effective, and our clients love us. So if they refer a client, we're perfectly willing to pay them. Now, if you're a new client, you may not like that, but if I'm not paying them, I'm paying a salesman. So 6 of one, half dozen of
Right.
the other. That's marketing.
Oh, you're right. And if that person does have it, it's like, okay, you find someone to refer them to so you can get their, it's an ever going cycle.
Hopefully it turns into a pyramid scheme and I've got a million people referring a billion people to me, but that would be nice.
So, well, it does happen. And I have seen people do that in all sorts of different businesses, and it works.
Yeah.
It's the small things, especially with this show, that I've been bringing out to a lot of new people and a lot of even seasoned people, is all these things that we're talking about are overlooked. Every one of these things are overlooked because they're looking at the end and not looking at the next step in the process.
And I'm going to tell you what I see a lot of entrepreneurs doing is they're working in their business, not on their business.
Okay.
Okay. And there's a difference. We start a business because we're good at something.
Mhm.
We can do it better, cheaper, faster than the guy we're doing it working for. And so we start our own business. We can produce better food. We can give better legal advice. We can take care of patients. We can create widgets. We can do designs. We can build websites better, faster, cheaper. So we should go into business, right? Sure.
Why not?
You're an entrepreneur now. You have a business, and your job is to design websites. No, you're in business. Your job is to build your business. Okay, to make it grow, to make it expand, to make it profitable. You need to work on your business. You didn't start this, and most of us do. We made a job. Okay,
Right.
that's not how you grow a business doing the work. You grow a business by working on the business and expanding it and hiring people and growing it and marketing and becoming a much, much bigger business. That's how you succeed monetarily. There's a lot of success and a lot of satisfaction in doing good work for people and making a living. No argument about that. And if that's where you're happy, that's fine. A lot of CPAs, they have one office, it's just them, maybe a part-time girl, and they're perfectly happy, and that's fine. But if you want to be bigger, you want the private island, you want the yacht, you want the airplane, you want the mansion, you want the Ferrari, whatever. You're going to have to grow your business, and you have to work on your business, not in it.
That's the skyscraper looking down at the business and figuring out and moving the chess pieces.
Yeah, very
Okay.
much so.
And I'm guilty of it. I know a lot of people out there listening are guilty of this as well, and because
am
we
I.
get caught up with it. So are you? Because we get caught up in it, and you want to make sure it's done right, and you want to make sure it's done effectively, and so you don't have to do the rework. And time slips away super fast.
It does.
It does. And Charles, I can't believe, it's you've been doing it for 40 years. I started as you're saying, is building the business. I'm doing the same thing. I'm working on trademarking. Some of the things that I'm working on are other books. I have a couple other books. I have articles and whatnot doing on. I can't actually hand that off to anybody because the content's coming out of me. That's one of the word things.
True, but there are things that you can, as you grow, hand off, and hire help, and hire good people, and succeed greater than you could do on your own. So you need to look at that. You need to look at your business and see, what can I delegate? Okay. And yeah, other people can write your books. You can ghostwrite a lot of them. People can help you with the content. People can do the editing. People can do the book design, the layout.
Oh, yes.
My last book, my publicist put me with Wiley, big publishing house. And
Okay.
they made my last book much better than it would have been otherwise. And it sold well. It's on Amazon. It's on all the bookstores. We've sold a lot more, and it's a lot better book
Okay.
than it would have been had I done it myself like I did my first three. So I'm very pleased with, it costs some money, but I got a much, much better product. It's,
Okay.
My business card now. So there's a lot of things you can do.
Yeah, it's how often do you, when you're talking to business people that are starting out, how often do you talk to them and tell them go even for your own business, how often do you sit down and reevaluate everything?
Well, one of the things I do is I buy Michael Gerber's The E-Myth Revisited by the Dozen, and I hand it out to clients all the time. A friend of mine gave it to me early on in my independent career, and it changed my life. It taught me how to work on my business. Every employee that comes to work for me reads the book. I reread it every few years.
Okay.
Just to reinstitute that I need to work on my business and not in it. So it's an ongoing process because, I get caught up in the minutia and the content and dealing with the IRS. And that's a lot of fun for me. I like dealing with the IRS. And I can lose sight of working on my business. So it's something you have to remind yourself of constantly.
It's that whole I was talking with Kevin Palmieri and Tommy Breedlove and a bunch of other guests that are saying the exact same thing you're saying, is the small things that we change over daily progress compounds for a better outcome.
Absolutely. It's the little steps. It's a million little steps, but they're all little. You can do one today. You can do one this afternoon. Do one tomorrow. Do one the next day. And over the course of a year, you've done a bunch of them.
And then you look back, it's like, wow, because I do that as well. It's already November, December's next month already. And it's already a year. The year's gone. I actually sat back, and I'm going to possibly do a show about this later, in December, about looking back about the year in review, because I'm only doing the radio show 7 months now already. It's honestly working on the 8th month of this, not even a year yet, and still climbing. And I'm still having great content and still excellent guests such as yourself on here, delivering these wonderful tidbits that people need to hear if they want to get into this. because it can happen and people can do these. They can go into
Yes.
business for themselves. They can
There-
be
There's
successful.
there's 100,000 new businesses every month in the U.S. Okay. Now, most of them fail, but not all of them. A lot of them become very successful. Now, if you're going to be an entrepreneur, don't expect to be Bill Gates. Okay. It's not going to happen. Just like I bought some tickets, but I didn't win the lotto last night. Okay. Some guy in New York did the $2 billion
So
lotto.
close.
Yeah, so close. Okay. But, there's 10,000 people that won $1 million or whatever. I don't know what the numbers are, but a lot of people won a lot of money.
Mhm.
One guy won the big prize. The chance of hitting the big prize are infinitesimally small. The chances of growing a business and making a good living, they're pretty good. And if you don't succeed in the first one, try it again. Now, entrepreneurship's not for everybody, but if you've got that entrepreneurial bent, as I do, as you do,
Oh,
I
thank
think
you.
it's a great life. I really do. I enjoy it.
I'm starting to enjoy it. I'm starting to step more. Every day is another step in this direction and leaving the previous 9 to 5 away. I still need
Yep.
that because it's still growing, but every day is a step towards this.
Yep.
And I see it it's wonderful. I agree.
And that's nice thing about the gig economy. You can do it part-time. You can do it on the side.
Yeah.
And if it works, then you can tell them to take this job and whatever.
Another great country song.
Yes.
Oh wow. Yeah, I can't believe I do believe that the people that I have on the show and people I've been meeting with are supposed to be on the show, and they are changing lives. They're changing my life. I'm impacting your life, and everybody out there that's actually listening to this and wants to take that chance. They're taking the content, and I see that in the reviews, and I see it from Voice America as well. And I thank you very much for your time today, Charles.
Oh, Magnus, it's been my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And because it's already the end of the show, we talked about businesses and taxes and all the boring stuff already, and the hour's gone already. So with that being said, this is the end of the show. Where, Charles, is there anything that you would like to tell the listeners on how to contact you? Anything that you're offering? This is your time to shine.
Sure. We're available at getpayroll.com on the web. My email is cjr@getpayroll. And if they've got something they really need an answer to, 972-353-0000, ask for Charles. But what I'd like to do for your listeners, my newest book is the Payroll Book, a guide for small business and startups we talked about, published by Wiley. If they would like a copy of this, if they will go to the payrollbook.com, enter the discount code podcast, we will ship them free of charge a copy of the book.
That is extraordinary, Charles. I will get that into the description, and wherever we post it, it will be in there, so it'll be out there for whoever is interested in starting their own business.
Absolutely. If it's 30 years of payroll wisdom distilled down to 95,000 words. There's a lot of horror stories. There's a lot of fun things in there. And if all else fails, it's a great cure for insomnia.
Well, I appreciate that. I'm looking forward to reading your book as well, because I know I can sure use that knowledge. I'm constantly learning and loving to read. So I appreciate your time, Charles, and I can't believe that we already are at the end of the show. Next week is going to be a different type of show, is because I finally got Bernadette Boas is going to be on the show next week, and we are going to be discussing am I the disgruntled one in the relationship between employee and employer. So we're going to talk about that, how we're going to work on each other, and if I'm the sole business person, how do I fix myself? So if you like, Charles, once again, thank you for your time. Thank you for your service. And it's been a pleasure having you on the show.
Magnus, it's been my pleasure being with you. Thank you very much for having me. I've enjoyed it.
Absolutely. And everybody out there, if you have any questions, I will link the information that Charles has left in the description, and you can contact him directly. Until next week, enjoy this warm weather, this Indian summer still, or Native American summer. Check out the eclipse that's later tonight, and we'll see you next week.
All clear. Great job, guys.
Thank you,
Thank
Rachel.
you, Rachel.
Of course. I'm glad I got to finally work your show, and I hope I see you soon.
Oh, same here. It was a pleasure working with
Thank you. Thank you. Bye, Charles. Bye, Matt.
Bye, Rachel.
you. Goodbye. So, Charles, what did you think about the show?
I had fun. I thought it went very well. It was well done. You make a great host. So
Oh, thank you.
we've done about 250 podcast shows and so on, and you're in the top tier for absolute for sure.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, thank you very much for that. Those are very kind words. Yeah, still newing, I'm still developing as I'm going, and I hope never to stop.
Yeah,
as this
absolutely.
continues.
No reason to.
Oh, excellent. I appreciate that very much. I will get those out. Kevin, I'll look for Kevin's email as well. Is there anything in the show that you thought I'm still recording, because I'll put the whole thing on YouTube, and I'll get you all the links to all the shows and stuff for your distribution as you see fit.
Right. We'll obviously we'll promote the show as soon as we get the links.
Okay, absolutely. That works perfect. But is there anything in the show or anything during the time on the show that you felt that we should have went over that we missed?
No, I mean, the problem with this is if you say, Charles, I need you to lecture all day about payroll, that's not a problem. If you say, Charles, I need you to do 20 minutes, that's a problem. Okay. What do I cut out? What these critical things, but we covered a lot of things that are critical for entrepreneurs.
Yes, we did.
The business entity, the classification, the multiple states, dealing with the IRS. These things are critical to keep you from falling into the clutches of the Internal Revenue Service. So we picked on a number of the major things. So I thought it went very well.
Oh, excellent. And I found, even though I didn't even have any bullet points or something, this is where the conversation went through. And I love having conversations like this instead of going down question after question after question, because that is so boring.
Yeah, there's other hosts that have their 6 standard questions, and that's the whole show. Yeah. Different strokes for different folks.
Oh, I agree. As you've witnessed, this is not your average show, and we have greatness coming all over the place with everything here, especially seeing from the behind the scenes till we actually promote this, which is going to be fantastic. So, and I will do the same thing on my end, is promote this as well. Everything else will be sent out.